What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the CrazeyFaceUno Podcast. I'm your host, Shane McNeely. And just a reminder, CrazeyFaceUno is inspiring others to do good, make a difference in our local and global community. And I'm very excited today to introduce to you a friend, an adventurer, Thomas Moore. Welcome, Thomas.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Super pumped to have you on. So just to give you a preview of what's to come, we're going to be talking about a trip, a little climb that Thomas did. He recently made the climb up Denali. But first, let's get a little background on you, Thomas. You're an entrepreneur.
Cool, yeah.
Would you describe yourself as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, entrepreneur, small business owner.
Yeah.
I essentially, before I was an entrepreneur, I was a government contractor for a few years, and then a friend of mine opened an escape room in Lexington, Kentucky, and basically talked me into getting out of government contracting.
Yeah.
To come back to Atlanta and open an escape room there. We actually had two in Atlanta and then one in Greenville, South Carolina. And I guess that was in 2015.
Sweet. Yeah. Okay.
The end of 2015, and we just kind of got them open quickly, and then we've just been riding that out since. Yeah,
that's awesome. I know we've talked a lot about that, and you've got your hands on a few different projects, which is really cool. And it's been really cool to get to know you. We met for the first time, what was it, almost a year ago now?
Yeah. Actually. This month.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is this month, yeah. We met about a year ago at an event that we worked in Dallas, Texas, and ended up getting to know you, Thomas, and it's been really cool to kind of keep that friendship, I guess, in a sense, alive and stay in touch and keep up with your life. It's been pretty cool. So
yeah, man,
I appreciate you coming on and being willing to tell your story today too.
Yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure.
So let's just get into it. I kind of brought it up. Denali.
It's the highest point in the U.S., man. It's in Alaska. It's either called Denali or Mount McKinley.
Mount McKinley, yeah.
And I actually can't remember how high it is. It's like 20,000 feet.
Yeah, it's like 20,156, I think. Or something.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, I brought up the old Googles before. I thought for sure that I was like, man, I gotta know a little bit about this as well. The first descent was June 7th, 1913.
Gosh.
Oh, and it does say the elevation is 20,308. So yeah, prominence.
That was close.
So yeah, whatever.
Highest point in North America. I guess prior to that, I've climbed the highest point in Africa, which is Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
In Tanzania, and then the highest point in South America, which is Aconcagua, and it's technically in Argentina, but it's on the border of Argentina and Chile.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome. So this is your third big climb.
It's the third of the 7 summits, and easily the second hardest. Possibly the hardest workload, but it's just not as high as Everest. So,
yeah, right. So when did you decide to go, and what did that look like? Was it you and some friends, or was you just your ambition to start climbing, or?
I have a friend who is into doing crazy things, and essentially,
I got one of those too.
I have to go back. I have to go back to Kilimanjaro to fully explain it. So essentially, he called me. His name's Josh. Josh calls me and he's like, "Hey, we need a 10th person to climb, or to join the group to get a discount to fly, and also a discount with the group to climb." So we're at 9, we have 5 weeks until we're climbing. Would you be up for it? And I was just at a point where, like, I just wasn't challenged or just wasn't doing what I wanted to be doing, essentially. The escape rooms are running. It's great. Business is great, but I needed something else. And so I got off the phone with him and then thought about it for like 5 minutes and then called him back. It's like, dude, 5 weeks doesn't seem like a lot of time, but I think I can do this. And so he ushered me in, and during that climb, it was a 7-day climb. I cannot remember the route that we took, but during that climb, the whole way through, like, I'm not a skinny dude, pretty big, not really, like, I wouldn't say fat, but husky. But I am, like, doing really, really well. So, like, at each point after the second day, they start checking, like, how much oxygen your body's taking in and how well you're just, like, physically doing. So all the checks, I'm just, like, dominating. Like, I always have the highest oxygen levels.
And those checks are, like, because of elevation. Is that correct?
Yeah. They're checking to see. There's like a little finger test that it's like a little machine that they'll put on your finger and just it tells
the
how
amount
much
of oxygen it's pumping.
You're taking in. And so I'm always like in the top 2.
Nice.
And as it's going, I'm
so the higher the better.
Yeah, well, yeah, the higher. So yeah, I'm at around like at 16,000 feet. I remember I was at like 96%, which could have been a mistake, but it was also like so pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
what is it like on
really well.
In your day-to-day, like normal, like in Atlanta where you live? Like what's
it's going to be at like 100 or 99%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like that's
so I'm like doing really well. Like everyone around me is at like 93, 94.
Sure.
There's a couple people who are in the 80s, the older guys and stuff. But yeah, I'm just like doing really well. So it just kind of like opened me up to like, I don't look like everyone else, but like
I'm fine.
I do really
I'm good.
well at dude. I'm doing well at high elevation. And I had never been to 16,000 feet. That was the highest I'd ever been in my life. And from there, you from 16 you make a summit push to 19, which is the top of Africa. And so I just did really well. So I do well going up. I don't do so well walking down.
Okay.
That's
like the
like
reintegration basically.
Well, no, it's just like a technique to walking down.
Oh.
They call it scree. It's called scree, but it's like loose gravel. And it's deep, loose gravel. And you have to like sort of ski down it. And I've never been skiing. At that point, I'd never been in snow higher than my knees. It's just a mess. I flipped probably 3-4 times going down.
That's scary.
Yeah, it was extremely painful, but I made it to the, back to 16,000 camp and was just amazed at like 5 weeks of training. My body did really well, and this could be something that I'm good at.
That's awesome.
And so that push to Aconcagua, I essentially am following my friend Josh's schedule. He's like adamant about doing all 7 summits, and so the highest points on all 7 continents. And I started out just following, like I'm along for the ride. I'm a yes man, so I'll say yes and try and beat you up the mountain.
Exactly. This is why we get along so well, because we got that competitive nature within us.
Yeah, there's a little bit of competitiveness, and like you also get to see like, that's kind of weird, but you get to see like you do well as other people are like crumbling. Yeah.
It can make you feel good.
I don't know how to explain that.
No, I get what you're saying.
I'm a good person, I promise. But,
you are.
So we pushed through Aconcagua, and I did really well going up. Again, just sucked going down. It's the most pain I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
Going down was just a nightmare. You're carrying like 70 pounds.
Oof.
Down loose volcanic rock, and it's just, I fell so many times. And to make it worse, everybody else is just like running past me. Like, it's scree, you just have to kind of slide down, and they're like explaining it, and it's just not working. I'm just like flipping. So, and then the last day out, because it takes 2 days to get out of Aconcagua. So the last day out, you're just carrying 70 pounds over like river rock.
Oh.
So, my ankles are all busted up.
Yeah.
My heels had been like torn apart by my boots, and it's just a mess. But going up, I was like such a champ. So
and 70 pounds of just dead weight too is
it's just awful.
Brutal. That's brutal.
Like, every step is like calculated. It was such a mess. Like, that was the part that I was not prepared for. Like, my legs were prepared for going up. They were not prepared for going down.
Yeah, so, and you wouldn't think that it'd be as hard necessarily, but
yeah, it's like you're just walking out. But, but it's hard.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience with altitude sickness as well. Like the very top of Aconcagua, it's 23,000 feet, or 22.8, I believe. And I got my first taste of like dope. Mainly, I just felt super dopey.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I felt like I was high essentially. And so like, as I'm going up, because it started at around like 20,000 feet, and I still have like 22.8 to go. And so like the last few hours, I just don't even remember. It just happened.
Really?
So I made it to the top, and I told I told the guides that, like, hey, I don't feel normal. Something's a little weird. One of the guys was just like, hey, just kind of take a seat over there. You'll be okay. And
was this at the top?
Yeah, at the very top. So everybody's like celebrating, and I'm almost in the corner, like losing my mind. I don't know what's happening. and I'm freaked out because I have seen people with AMS. Yeah. Like you have to.
Yeah, it's no joke.
As all this is happening, I'm like, am I about to die? And my guide just doesn't know it.
Right.
All that to say, an hour later we started descending, and it was a mess, an absolute mess for me to descend while having those symptoms. But I made it down safely, and made it off the mountain. And even though like my pride had taken a beating because of the descent, I was just like, I can do this.
Yeah.
And also there's like a weird stat where there's only been one Black American, and he actually wasn't born in America, to climb all 7 summits.
Oh, that's really cool.
It's kind of weird. There's not very many things that I know of. I mean, that's a challenge if you can think of anything else. But like, name something that a Black person hasn't done. There's not that many. Like, so it's like the one thing where I'm like, I could beat him at this.
Yeah.
I could beat him in age, and I technically wasn't born in America, but I was born on a military base, which is technically America. So like, I can run for president and all that good stuff. We're good.
So that's like stamping your name in the history books in a way.
Dang right.
That's cool.
So after the second mountain, I was like, I'm going for it. I'm going to follow Josh's schedule and, figure out how to pay for these climbs and make it happen. So that leads me to Denali. Josh, so we climbed Aconcagua in January of 2019. It's kind of weird. And then Denali, essentially was in June. So started out, we were going to be in the same group. I did not have all my cash saved up and ready to roll. So that group filled up, and I had to go in a second group. Like the week behind Josh. So I was, alone in this group, and I climbed to the company called Alpine Ascents out of Washington.
Yeah.
But just kind of showed up, and do you want me to go through like the specifics of that?
Yeah. What does that look like? So you're basically, is it like buying a package, or is it do you have to provide all your own gear? Can you buy that or rent that from people? Like, how does that process work?
Yeah, so with an outfit like Alpine Ascents, you can technically rent everything,
but obviously you're going to be doing this, or you're doing, to do more than one,
So I had a lot of gear already from Aconcagua.
Sure.
And so I rented a couple things, but it's good to go. So, they take you up in a group of like 10 people, I think is the max. 3 guides, 10 people. That's what the like park services require. So you go with a group, you're like never alone. They kind of instruct you, and they're always leading the way. So there's crevasses or it's just these big cracks in the ice, and so they're kind of helping you navigate over the glaciers and stuff like that. So you're always following somebody. You can technically climb that mountain without a guide, but I don't want to end up, dead on the mountain. So
yeah, it doesn't seem like a good time, and
yeah,
I'd say it's always good to go with a buddy.
Yeah,
or
so
10.
I paid to join the group, and then it started out 9 of us in this group. 1 female, 8 dudes, 3 guides. They were all pretty hilarious dudes.
Yeah.
And the girl as well.
So you didn't know any of these people either, though? You'd met them for the first time just then?
I knew one of the guides randomly because he was a late addition, but I climbed Mount Baker in Washington with him.
Cool.
And I was pretty pumped because the dude is hilarious, too.
Yeah.
So, we start climbing. Essentially, like, you do a gear check. They make sure you have all the stuff you need. Your backpack's going to weigh like 70 pounds, 60 to 70 pounds. Yeah. And then you have to drag a sled with about 60 pounds.
On top of that.
Yeah, for that climb, you're carrying about 23 days worth of equipment.
Right.
Like food, fuel, the whole 9.
So it gets a little bit lighter as you go, but probably not a noticeable difference.
Yeah. So there's 2 ways to go about that. So I guess that leads to my
wait, hang on just a second. So what does your training look like before all of these? I know you said like your first one, you only had 5 weeks? Is that what you said?
Yeah, 5 weeks.
So that was short.
What I noticed, way to bring me back to that. What I noticed about my first climb, did a little research and just figured out that altitude training could possibly help your body start producing red blood cells. And it seems like with climbing, it's a red blood cell game.
Yeah.
Essentially, you need your body to take as much oxygen as possible to your head and heart, so you don't get sick.
Yeah.
And so with that amount of time, it was a ton of Stairmaster, but I knew if I could get out to Colorado, it's game over. Like, I bought a few tickets, like 2 tickets out to Colorado Springs.
Just to kind of like acclimate yourself to that elevation, the higher elevation.
I needed to send my body into like a panic mode.
Yeah.
So they have this thing in Colorado Springs called the Incline, and it's like a snow bucket, or I don't know what you call it, maybe a trolley. I've never been skiing, so like the thing that brings you to the top of a mountain.
Yeah, what is that called? I don't do that very often either. So it's a lift, right? Like a
lift.
Yeah.
Yes, it's an old lift track. So they took the buckets down and the track down, but they left the stairs. So you can climb 2,000 feet. You start at 6,000, a little over 6,000 feet, and you climb 2,000 feet in less than a mile to the very top, and then you can hike down 4 miles to the base.
Yeah.
And so I just started doing that. And it, like, the first time I climbed the incline, the day I arrived that day, I was hydrated, but I was just not ready for the elevation. And it hurts so bad.
Yeah.
Like, lightheaded, but too proud to stop.
Sure.
It's just so painful. So that was kind of a rude awakening, and I was there for a couple days, so I went back the next day and just made it happen. And then
and then the headaches, right? Did you get headaches?
I didn't get very many headaches.
Okay.
When I wasn't like climbing.
Okay.
I would get them when I was like in the process of climbing. So I knew that worked for Kili, and I didn't do it for Aconcagua.
Okay.
So for Denali, I was like, I'm flying out to Denver and Colorado Springs at least 3 times.
Yeah.
And I'm going to carry heavy weight up this stupid mountain. So that's what I did, man.
Have you read or have you done or know anything about Wim Hof and like his breathing techniques? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't. I know what pressure breathing is.
Okay.
And I use that all the time.
Okay. Yeah, there's a guy named Wim Hof, and he there's several like YouTube videos about him. He's got a book. Anyway, he climbed Everest without a shirt on, without an oxygen mask. Like he's got this breathing technique that's supposed to do a bunch of different things, and he does like his own classes and training on whatever. So I was just curious if you had heard of him or had done any of that. Yeah, you should.
I'm not opposed to it. So yeah, that could be the next iteration.
There you go.
But to train, I just I made those trips happen. So
okay, yeah,
that's to Colorado, and then where I'm at in Georgia, it's called Kennesaw Mountain. It's not much. It's like you go up a mountain. You start at low elevation and just climb, but
yeah.
Essentially, I would carry 80 pounds in a backpack that was made to carry 60. So it just hurt because like the straps are just digging into your shoulders. And I would just climb that, and I would 4 times in a row. So I'd climb up, go back down, climb up, go back down.
Yeah. Well, and then you're like even the discomfort. It's like getting you used to being uncomfortable.
That
in
was
a
the
sense.
thing that saved me.
Like a mental toughness piece. Yeah.
Yeah. So. So I'd climb or hike 10 miles or whatever, and try and use as little water as possible, just to get my body used to, moving without water, sweating, and the pain of a heavy backpack. Yeah. And so that ended up being the heavy backpack thing was so freaking important because I didn't have a sled. I had not practiced with a sled. Yeah. And the first day, you're actually going downhill the first day. Oh, but interesting. You're still dragging, the weight, and it's a hard process. Like you're actually using muscles that you didn't train to use. And so, great thing is, I only had 60 pounds in my backpack, so it kind of felt like there was nothing there. Sure. It's just really just focused on.
You just had the pulling of the sled,
Yeah.
So now, right before, or like even the like moments leading up or the days leading up to this hike to Denali and to these other hikes, what are you feeling? Like, are you like, is it excitement? Is it nervous? Is it like frantic trying to get your stuff together? Like, what are your emotions like before?
I had a really good support system. Yeah. Or a support group. And so, they kind of helped me just get through the nervous part of it.
Sure.
I'm pretty introverted, and I don't really put my business out there via Instagram or anything. It's a defense mechanism, I guess. But there's a part of I could fail because the weather on Denali is awful. Yeah. And I've watched documentaries and
it can change quickly and.
Yeah, so you can sit in your tent for 2 weeks straight and never make it to the top.
Sure.
That's just the game. And so there's a part of me that didn't want to tell anyone that I was doing it.
Yeah.
The support system, my friends were like, you got to get this out there. You need to tell people that you're climbing.
Yeah.
And so, I gave up my Instagram account and kind of let them run it and just put myself out there. And so that was a bit stressful, but I knew it was for the better.
Yeah, and it was really cool, honestly. I mean, I didn't know until, I saw the first picture or the first, little update on your trip, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then every time the next one came up, I was like super pumped about it. And I'm sure other people felt the same way, but it's like you're rooting you on from a distance, like, oh, come on, like keep going. And then, I mean,
that was all Taylor and the IG, and she dominated, like everything that needed to get out there without me being like.
Yeah, it was respectful of your feelings and respectful of you, but it was like informational about the difficulties, but also like what you had coming and like what you were looking. She just framed it really well.
Yep, and so there's a documentary that I watched years back called An American Ascent. It's about a team of 9 black climbers that are trying to be the first black team to ever summit Denali. So I don't want to ruin that, but
I mean, it's been out for a little while, right?
Spoiler
alert.
2013. They don't make it to the top, but the experience is amazing. But also, they don't make it to the top.
Okay.
And, it's not all about the summits, but for the track that I'm on, I'm like, if I'm going to spend this money, I'm going to die trying. I got to make it to the top.
Right.
And there's that weird, like, the experience can never be taken away from you, but you don't want it to be failure, but you kind of like have this, oh my gosh, I spent all this time on the mountain and didn't make it to the top, and
yeah,
I just don't want that to be a part of my story, and if
right.
it is, I don't want to have to share it with everyone, because I'm just really guarded. So,
yeah, which makes sense. I mean, that's a fair, I mean, that's a fair thing for you to, like, guard yourself from those things. And I mean, even, I know that because you are an introverted person, we've had some talks about this. I know that even telling your story and telling this story right now is uncomfortable, and I really do appreciate that, and I want to say thank you for that. So
yeah, man.
I know that that's a stretch sometimes to be able to just put yourself out there, but you got a cool story, man, and I think it's even more as we get to unpack this a little bit. I think I'm happy to hear it. I'm happy that you're getting to share it with us and share it through this platform. So again, thank you.
Yeah. Hey, you're welcome. Yeah, it's that was the initial feelings for like getting into, like, I have my flight. I'm flying to Alaska.
Yeah.
And it's on. It's game on. And so in that like respect, I'm also like, even though I'm carrying all this weight and I don't look like your average climber, I will literally die trying. Like, there's not, unless I like snap my leg off or something like that, I'm going to keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yep.
You can't really control weather, but outside of that, I'm going. And so, I mean, that was just where the mindset was.
When you see some of these other adventurers, climbers that are pushing themselves to the limits, and you know, there's always stories of climbers that have, you know, died on these different mountains or on these different difficult climbs and whatnot. Do you kind of like understand maybe what that was like, or what their, you know, that drive to keep going, or does that like resonate at all with you, or?
Some of that's like reading about like some of the Polish climbers and German climbers that have died. They're pushing a different, like, they're pushing the envelope to a whole nother level.
Sure.
Like, it's just,
almost explorers.
They're creating
in a sense.
new routes. Yeah. So their path is a little different than mine.
Yeah.
I could not even, like, we're not in the same arena.
Okay.
So yeah, you kind of take that and like realize the facts about what they're doing, and you know, avalanches are real, but like the path that they took.
So it's more respect than anything, of just pure like mad respect for the people that are going before you to kind of create the different routes and the different ways. Okay, cool. Yeah. So basically you show up to the, is it like at the mountain, or do you go to this like outfitter?
They have like a little hangar or warehouse where it's in Talkeetna.
Okay.
So you show up, you get to Talkeetna, Alaska, you show up and lay your gear out on the floor, and they just go through everything.
Yeah.
Like, Denali has awful weather, so they have to make sure if it's, you know, -20, you're okay. And so they do a gear check, load everything back up, and then essentially you're getting everything ready for the plane, because you have to fly onto the glacier, Talkeetna Glacier. And so we do a gear check, load it in the van, they take it to the planes. Actually, I didn't fly on the first day, so the weather was too bad for the planes to arrive. So I believe this is June 17th.
Okay.
We're waiting on the airfield, and you know, we're just waiting for like 6 hours, and they're like, there's no window. So we go back to the hotels, come back the next day, and we're clear. So you load up in these little prop planes and fly to the Talkeetna Glacier, and that's where you spend the night, your first night, which is another key factor. So I didn't actually believe the guides when they said don't bring a flashlight or a headlamp. But the sun never sets, and so...
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
It's so bright during the night, like. But yeah, so you land on the glacier, get all your gear. Like right on the glacier, you spend the first night. You set your tent up, spend the first night, and then around 4 o'clock. They're trying to time it to where it's the coldest, so less likely to fall into a crevasse as you walk. So throw on your snowshoes and backpack, tie yourself up to the sled, and you start dragging that sucker to Camp 1.
Now, how far is Camp 1? Do you remember?
It's not that far. I feel like it's like around 5 miles, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe
and
not even that far.
Once you get there, then it's like the climb has started, essentially.
Yep.
It's like your starting point.
So Camp 1's a spot. You set up your tent. We basically spent 2 days at Camp 1. So the thing about Denali is you have to drag all of your equipment, food, gear. You don't necessarily have to do that for Everest or Kilimanjaro or Aconcagua. There's porters and donkeys that kind of help with that load. So for Denali, you're dragging it and then you stash it, or cache it. So you will dig a hole, dump your gear in for that, section, and then bury it, and then go back to the camp.
Gotcha.
You do that for 2 reasons. It lightens the load, but it also helps you acclimate.
Right.
So you go up, you hike up, and then sleep down low. That's the game that they're playing.
Yeah.
So do that a couple days, and you're just kind of staggering them.
So then, like half your days without the dragging a sled, and then the other half or whatever your leg of that race, because you're going from point 1 to there, picking that up, taking it up high, coming back. So just that back and forth. Right. Gotcha.
Yep. And so you're doing that, and we had amazing weather, and that kind of led into our guide's decisions. But like the weather is it's bright, it's warm, it's not too cold. There's like no storms coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And so Josh, the guy who introduced me to climbing, is ahead of me by, I guess, 7 days.
Yeah.
So they're just loving life. They're pushing for the summit. It's great. You can't go that long with like great weather on Denali. Like bad weather's coming. And so as we're pushing up, we're like, man, I kind of wish it would snow. Like Camp 1, Camp 2.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we got some snow.
Yeah, just to kind of put yourself at ease and knowing that something's around the corner.
Yeah, so, I feel like we got to Camp 2 around like day 4, something like that. And,
okay.
So I'm calling it 1 and 2, but essentially it's Camp 2 is the 10,000 foot camp.
Yeah.
So you're at a working level. It's not too high, definitely not too low. And from there, actually it's 1,100. It's 11,000 feet, and then the next one's 14, and then 17. So the thing about Denali also is that each camp is separated by about 3,000 feet of elevation.
Gotcha.
Which is your typical, I guess, 14er. You're just doing it above 14,000 feet. So like Colorado 14ers, you'll have to climb about 3,200 feet within 5 miles. For Denali, you're doing that in 3 miles.
Oh, okay.
Which it's kind of straight up.
Just fast, yeah.
Yep.
So it's a quick change of elevation.
Yeah, so, Camp 2, 1,100 feet, or 11,000. I keep saying 1,100, but 11,000 feet, and it's great. Things are awesome. While I'm there, I see Josh come down from his summit day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we high five. He's telling me about just different things to look out for.
That's nice to have him like that. At least a connection along the way, and then some tips as you go. That's gotta feel good.
That it's doable. You see, I'm looking at him. He looks like he's put out a lot to get up that mountain, and he leaves me with the statement of, "It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, for sure, but you can do it."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, why would you?
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah. And so from there, I guess I left out a couple of the big hills. There's Motorcycle Hill, which is a pretty famous part of Denali.
Okay.
And it's just a really intense incline, and you're carrying your sled.
What route are you taking?
The West Buttress.
Buttress, okay. Which is one of the more common ones, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's technical, but not as technical as that mountain can be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so motorcycle hill is kind of a cool part, but it's also just like you're just going straight up with weight. So you got to bring it that day, and then you get up to 11,000 feet, and then from there you have a couple more like pretty intense hills, and you have the fixed lines. And so that's just lines that have been like attached to the mountain.
Yeah.
And the way that you get up is to use an ascender and your ice axe and crampons, and you're just like slowly working yourself up these lines, and you have to clip in, clip out. So you have a safety line that you're always connected to.
Yeah.
And you have to just like clip in, clip out as you like get up the lines, and it's really slow. Thank God we had amazing weather, because if you're on the fixed lines and bad weather comes in, it's just like brutal. You're not going anywhere. Sure. You got to go up, and you got to do it slow.
Yeah. So having good weather was great for you guys then at that point in time.
Yeah, it was amazing.
What's like the most obscure? I know you're in the middle here, but what's like the most obscure thing you like bring, that you pack, like equipment wise?
For me, it was probably the Ascender, because I'd never used one.
Sure.
Just a handheld device that lets you go up but doesn't let you fall backwards.
Yeah.
And I mean, the piece of equipment that I know I need but I actually hate is crampons.
Yeah.
I don't walk well in those, and so it's just like I'm gonna cut through my boots, possibly cut myself. Like it's just ugly. But yeah, that's pretty much
Gotcha.
the toughest gear. So yeah, we moved from 11 to 14. And then from 14 to 17, there's another like really big hill, and you pass this little point called Windy Corner, and then as you're going to 1700 camp, there's this like hardcore ridge, and if your listeners can Google like just 14, 17 camp, they'll see what I'm talking about. But it's just like a ridge where you have like a 3,000 foot drop on one side, and then even farther on the other.
Gotcha.
It will mess with your head if you like look.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google it as you're talking. So keep going. Yeah,
I don't look. I normally keep my head down and just like try and focus on my breathing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember passing through that, being like, man, one wrong step and this is gonna be a brutal fall. Like,
dude, that sounds terrifying.
Yeah, you pass this little ridge, and it's small enough where like if someone's going the opposite way, you have to stop, get out of the way, and let them pass. Like there's not enough room for two people. Oh my gosh, I forgot the most important thing about this. You are clipped into a person, so like there's about 50 to 100 feet of rope in between you and the person in front of you. And that's to help with like if you did fall in a crevasse, like the person in front and the person in back can potentially help you from falling too far.
Yeah.
But it becomes tougher with the sled. So you have the sled, and then you also have to like work your stride with your team. So if you are on a team of people like that are 6'5", and you're 5'9",
you've got a few more extra steps to do. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna get worked really quick. And so that's a tough thing that I had never experienced, like on a big mountain like that. Like I'm 5'9", and the guy in front of me happened to be like 6'3", and he's just a go-getter. And so like every step,
sweet,
I'm having like correct. Yeah, it's just miserable.
So shouldn't you have technically been in front then? Would that have made things even worse?
From a supply chain standpoint, you would want if I was creating the bottom line, you'd want me in the middle.
Okay.
Like if I was creating the baseline, you want me in the middle, but
gotcha.
That's also just a terrible place to be as well. But
yeah.
because people do fall in. Like, they'll punch through.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I guess I'm pulling you out. Here we go.
Oof.
But yeah, so 17 camp was amazing. You start to feel the altitude for sure at 17,000 feet.
Yeah. Just the same head stuff, that same.
Yeah, I guess I could tell you about that. So getting into 14 camp, that was the first time I caught like a really bad headache. I had to take like Advil. And it's a headache like, just picture a sharp pain in the back left part of your neck.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's what happens when you're having a stroke, but like, I don't know. But yeah, it's like the back part of my neck, left side of my neck, just is in sharp pain. And I'm like, what's going on? And I know it's the altitude. And I'm just like having trouble adjusting.
And at that point in time, there's really nothing you can do. I mean, other than take some Advil and hope it goes away, right? I mean, your body just has to make the adjustment on its own.
Yeah, and the mental game to that is, that's the first, like, I was journaling the whole way through, and that was the first, like, doubt. That was the doubt creeping in.
Yeah.
So it's not, because you still have 2 more camps.
Sure. And if you're already having trouble, then, that, like, mental headspace, sure.
And when you get to 14 camp, you see the mountain that you have, or the hill. It's not fair to call it a hill, but you see this like incline that you have to get through with the fixed lines to get to 17.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that with this headache, and my legs are, jello, and I'm just like in pain. So that's the first time doubt creeped in.
Yeah.
I was like, I may not make this. And at that point, we already had one person drop out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And so
then there's, part of that doubt comes in with that as well, I'm sure.
Yep. And so it's...
And then you've got the comment that your buddy made about it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. Sitting there in the back of your head, too, so...
Yeah, don't leave your friend with that statement. It's so... Yeah, but yeah, so the positive talk, I had to do it. Like, as corny and as cheesy as it is, like...
It works.
I'm in my tent, just doing, like, self-help, like, positive talk about the rest of this mountain.
Yeah.
And, because of the hydration thing, like, I sweat a ton, and we're only carrying 2 liters of water between these camps, and so, like,
sure.
It's easy for me to, like, for my legs to cramp. So my legs start cramping, not like bad cramps, it's just, like, dehydrated.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I may not make it, so...
And are you guys melting your water as you go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. It takes a lot of time. And that's why they're like trying to limit you to 2 liters, because it takes so much time to melt the ice to make water. But yeah, so next morning, get up, get harnessed in, clipped in, and get after it. And we didn't have to drag the sleds, thank God. We, buried the sleds, all that equipment. But we're still carrying, 60, 70 pounds. So take it up this hill, get to the fixed lines, work your way through the fixed lines, get to the ridge, and you're working through the ridge to get to 17 camp. I had a malfunction of the backpack on the way to 17 camp. It was really windy, really cold, and my mind just kind of got to me. So I started sinking in snow, because it's also like starting to get hot.
Oh.
And I can't really get my bearing, like I can't get my footing the way that I feel comfortable, even with an ice axe. And so I'm kind of losing it. It's it's the first time I said I can't. I said I can't get over this hill. I'm screaming that. There's nothing anybody can do to help me. Like, I have to get over this like part of soft snow to get to the ridge. And so I'm like,
is it like what was
battling.
It's just you couldn't get your footing, you just kept slipping down, or
I'm a little heavier than the rest of the pack, and I am sliding.
Gotcha.
And like I'm on the ridge, but like I'm very close to the edge. So I'm like not panicked to the point of like life or death, but I'm like, it's my oh shit moment. Like, oh shit, this is real. There's literally nowhere else for me to go, but this could get ugly.
And I don't, getting down really wasn't much of an option either, I'm sure, at that point in time.
So, you take a breath. The guide's like, you have to keep going. And he sees me sliding, so it's like he gets it, but he's like, you got to get me through there. So I work through that part, get to the ridge, and as I'm like bending over to fix my crampon, I forgot to like tighten my backpack so that everything on the top wouldn't fall out. So my water bottles fall out.
Oh, shoot.
The guide behind me catches one of them and misses the other, and it just, falls 3,000 feet into the middle of nowhere. So I have 1 liter of water at this point, which is bad.
Yeah.
I have a half, but it's like I have a half and a full liter.
Man.
But yeah, so he's like thinking through the process, like, is this a no-go?
Right.
And as we're like walking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I also have a thermos. So that's 2 liters and then a half. Let's do this. The guy, he's like, you got to get it together. We can't stop in this point. You got to be safe. And he's like giving me the spiel. And I'm like, oh my God, man, I'm just trying to get to 17. Like, let's do this.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, we work through it. We get to 17 camp. I'm like spent. Both legs are cramping, like my hamstrings and both of my legs.
Yeah.
Because of the lack of water. And then, so we had a chat at 14 camp, and they're like, hey, there's a bad weather storm coming in. We need to decide at 17, like, and this is on day 8.
Okay. So this is at 14. You're 8 days in. So you're a week and a day in at 14,000 feet, and you've got how many more?
Well, you should expect
2 more,
14 to 16 days.
Okay, but as far as like elevation, you're trying to get to 17 as your next camp, and then you've got and then you summit.
Yeah. So technically, to get from 14 to 17, we were supposed to take a rest day.
Gotcha.
Because 14 is where you start to feel the elevation, you get your first headache, that stuff sets in.
Mm-hmm.
So you take a rest day, and then you go to 17, take a rest day at 17, and then you work your way up to the top. Give or take a couple days. You may have to take more than 1 rest day.
Sure.
Or a weather day. So day 8, they're like, hey, there's a storm coming in. We're going to have to decide. And the group's kind of, everybody's gung-ho. I'm in the back like, this is how... This is how you get sick. Like, you do too many feet of elevation, 6,000 feet of elevation in one day. Somebody's getting sick. And it's not going to be the cute sick.
Right.
It's going to be the ugly, violent vomiting and carried down the mountain sickness. And so, like, everybody's giving their 2 cents. I'm like, hey, guys, pace really matters to me. Like, if we're going to do this, we got to keep the pace slow and just kind of work through it. And pace and breaks, that was my whole deal. And so they're like, we'll make a final decision at the top, but the guys are really adamant about, like, you could spend 2 weeks in your tent. This storm coming in could be brutal. Oof. And it was good for them to say that because, like, all the other people are staying, but, I know too many people that have stayed in their tents for 2 weeks and just wait. Like, there's nothing you can do. You can't hang out beside your tent. You're just in your tent, they're serving you food in your tent, and you're just stuck. And then the first break you get, you have to go down. So they're like, we brought 23 days worth of food, but if you spend 2 weeks in your tent, there's not going to be enough for a summit push. Right. So that's what's in our head at 14. As we work up to 17, we get to 17, and
but it's almost like, I don't know. I hear you with the elevation, but it's almost like you'd rather spend 2 weeks in your tent trying than like just calling it and heading back at the same time, though, right? In my head, that's kind of how I'm like, at least I did everything possible, but
there's that part, but there's also the point of just pushing up. So you can wait it out and hope, and then try at the last minute. If you have enough supplies, right? Or you can just push. And so they were pushing us to push.
Yeah.
it made sense, and everybody was for it. I mean, they told us, hey, this might mean that, everyone here may not make it to the top.
Yeah.
But it's better than taking on this storm. And so, yeah, man, we get up to 17, and they're like, nothing's changed in the weather. We need to go tomorrow.
Ooh, baby.
So that pushed us. Technically, we summited on day 10. So 10 days. Like,
wow.
That's really fast compared to, 11 days round trip, but 10 up. Like, that's a brutal way to do it. But
yeah. And how was your transitions into each of those elevation points? And
man, so yeah, 17 comes around. We leave at like 10 a.m. It's bright, kind of warm, and there's this famous part of Denali called the Autobahn.
Okay.
And it's called the Autobahn because
I saw that
so
name
goofy,
come up.
Man. Yeah, dude. A lot of Germans have slid to their death.
Oh, wow.
Like they weren't strapped in. They didn't have a protective harness or anything, and they just slipped. And you slide off the side of the Autobahn, and you're going all the way down, over 3,000 feet, and you're going to slide into rocks.
Oof.
And so I think that's kind of a funny name.
Yeah.
I don't feel that bad laughing about it, but
it's got its name though, so there it is.
So that's the first thing you're climbing. So you're going straight up the Autobahn. It's a push, and you can't stop on the Autobahn. There is no stopping. They tell you that before you go. Once you start, you push to the end.
Period.
No jokes.
Yeah.
Be careful. Don't slide, because you're also strapped in. So if you slide off the side of this, you're strapped into the safety line, but you're also strapped into others. So if they're not ready for it, you may pull more than just yourself off the side. So
yeah.
So it's a nice little stretch. You get to the top of the Autobahn. I feel like the name of that stopping area is called Denali Pass.
Okay.
You get to Denali Pass, and we're all just taking our first break. So we push for 2 hours, and that's where we see two guys. So there's one guy who immediately is his lips are discolored or whatever, and he's kind of saying, I have a headache, and also his feet are really cold, and he has on Everest rated boots, and so it's impossible for his feet to be cold. It's also really warm.
So if he's saying they're cold, something's wrong.
Something's wrong. So the guys are tracking it, and there's another guy this guy actually lives in Chamonix, which is the alpine capital of the world, and he's climbed a ton of mountains, and he knows he has AMS, and so immediately he calls it out honestly, and he's like, hey, it's not safe for me to keep going. And so they send a guide to take those two guys down. And yeah, I mean, one of the guys, the guy that's from Chamonix, he ended up having to go farther. He had to descend farther and get on oxygen because his body wasn't adjusting fast enough. So
oh wow.
Yeah, it's quite the trip for them. But yeah, so we leave Denali Pass, head up the mountain. There's as this is happening, I don't know how to explain the pain threshold. So there's certain points where you're just going up for a long time, and you're just all I want to do is stop. Just give me
yeah,
a 30-second moment to catch my breath, let my heart rate slow down, and I'll be good. But the guide's not worried about you specifically. He's trying to stop at a safe point.
Right.
And so, yeah, we're just following him, and there's points where I'm just praying that this dude is going to stop in the next 5 minutes because I'm hurting.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get to a couple markers. There's a thing called the football field, and you can kind of see the ridge, the summit ridge from there. And so you actually descend on the football field, and at that point you don't want to descend. You're just if I'm going down, I have to go back up. So I don't want to go down.
Yeah.
So let's just, if it's not flat, it's up. And then I think it's called Pig Hill. I could be making all of these names up, but I feel pretty confident. Pig Hill's the last whammy. It's the last thing that's gonna smack you in the face before you get to the summit. And then you get to this little stopping point before the ridge, drop your pack, and I was there. Like, it's so weird to think about that and the history behind it, the documentaries that, I'd watched. And
yeah.
I mean,
what were your feelings even before you, like, when you see that little ridge going up? I mean, that you've reached the top after the you were talking about how you wanted to stop and take a break, so you finally get to that flat point where you can see what you've been working towards, basically. That's got to be is it like a refill of energy, or is it just like a means to an ends at that point in time, just being like, let's get up that bad boy? And
I had that. So I had the shot of adrenaline. The guide that I knew from a previous climb, we were talking the whole time, and he's like, oh, there's the summit. Can you see it? I saw it, and I got just a jolt of adrenaline.
Yeah.
Like, almost pushed me to cry.
Yeah.
Like, I felt it. What I didn't know is we're like 6 miles away. I really don't know how far, but like, it's so
still
far.
So far. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, dude, don't point that out, because the adrenaline that I needed is gone now.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that. Sure.
Yeah, I had like a rush, and you couldn't really tell, like, distance-wise when I saw it, like how far it was. But I mean, I still have to go down and then back up.
Oof.
And so you get to the top, and that's where the second adrenaline, like, rush hits. And I'm just like, so because of the documentary An American Ascent, I just knew that, like, dude, black people don't climb.
Yeah.
There is no way that there's been, like, more than 10 black people to summit this mountain.
Yeah.
And I'm about to be one. Like,
right.
I'm here.
Right.
So we're on the ridge, and I ask, because they're like, oh, man, first off, we have amazing weather, which for all of my climbs, and I do honestly think that is just God being extremely nice to me.
Yeah.
Every climb that I've had, it's been amazing weather at the summit. Like, just like, I climbed with a Sherpa on Aconcagua. He summited that mountain I don't know how many times.
Mm-hmm.
And I just happened to be in the group that, like, is the best weather that he's experienced.
That's so cool.
Like, that's what he said at the time.
Yeah.
And same thing for Mount Baker. Kili was amazing weather.
That's awesome.
I didn't have on a puffy jacket. I had on a soft shell jacket at the top of America. This mountain can get to -40 pretty easy.
Yeah.
And I have on a soft shell black diamond jacket, and the guides are like, the weather's amazing. I cannot believe this. I'm like, man, that has been said every summit that I've made it to. And so, I ask them, how many black people have you, because they've all summited Denali, quite a few times. They're all like, none. You're actually the first that I've ever seen on the mountain.
Wow.
So it kind of got me jacked up. I was just like ready.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's exciting, but how does that, like, there's got to be some pride behind that as well. Like, you got to be really proud of that.
Yeah, I have this, like, weird desire to be, like, the first in certain things. Like, I love to be, like, just the rando person on your refrigerator. Like, it's so ridiculous, but I feel like I've made ground once I've, like, made it onto my face is on your refrigerator. And so, that's just...
You've got a place in my fridge. I just need a picture, dude, man. So
my face will be on there.
Make it happen. All right.
That's my thing. And so, like, hearing them say that, I was just like, damn it, here we go.
Yeah.
This is the top. Like, I did it. And so, we start to climb up the last ridge, and we make it to the top. We spend like an hour at the top just taking pictures. I got some pretty sweet photos. And I'm kind of like I'm not like Eeyore or anything, but, like, I'm just not going to be, like, emotionally, like, crazy or anything.
Right.
Because I also know that most people die on the way down.
Right.
So, like, the whole time that's in my head, I'm just like, man, this is awesome.
Getting there is great, but
we're literally halfway. And I don't do that well at descending. So, that's in the back of my head. Like,
sure.
We're not even halfway done. Like, this is the hardest part's literally coming. Because once the adrenaline's gone, and I'm at a low.
Right.
Now I have to really focus on each step going
right,
down.
Right. And
So
that's always been your nerve-wracking part too. So
yeah, dude. Yeah, so I enjoyed it, but like I knew like there was more work to be done. And so
now at the top, I know there's like some traditions. Are there any that you partake in, or are there any that you know of, or any that are interesting? Whether it's like putting something at the top, or I don't know. Is there anything?
I mean, I don't want to call it like bad luck or anything, but I'm not taking anything from that mountain because that mountain, like, it's been there for so long, and after I die, it's going to be there. Like, I made it to the top. I get my photo.
Yep.
There's a nice little Department of Interior, like, stamp in the very top of the mountain.
Sure.
So take a picture of that. Look at the surrounding, mountains in the range, and then it's time to go. Like, there's not really, I guess I don't make that big of a deal about it because, like,
again, it's halfway, and you've still got to get back down.
Yeah, I can still end up in a crevasse, like, pretty easily.
Yeah.
Like, once I get back to my camp, then the celebration can happen, but I'm not counting this egg before it hatches. Like, it's too easy for you to just miss a step and fall.
Yeah, it's staying focused and staying on mission. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Yeah. But
that seems like experience too. I mean, I'm sure that the first time you climbed, you had different feelings than the second and third time as well.
Yeah, the first time I climbed Kili, like, that was the first mountain I ever climbed. And I had not one clue about scree or walking down a mountain.
Right.
So, I mean...
or how difficult it was going to be, so...
yeah, it was just a painful experience that I never forgot.
Yeah, sure.
And, I mean, there's no scree or loose rock on Denali. It's just all ice, but still, it's hard to walk down. So, I just knew, like, the hard part's coming. I'm celebrating, but, like, not too much.
Sure.
And so, yeah, man, I just kind of loaded up, got everything loaded, and, there's a ton of jokes, lots of laughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the group, I mean, 6 of us made it up, so 3 didn't, but, yeah, the 6 of us just kind of lived it up and then got to work. Let's get down this mountain. Let's get back home. We're going to be 11 days in after it's all said and done, so.
Wow. So you come all the way down in a day?
Oh my gosh, dude. It's called the Death March.
That sounds terrible.
Dude, they get you, oh gosh. I forgot about that. So, like, you get from the summit, so you go.
And that was day 10. So you went from day 8 at 1,400 or 14,000 foot elevation to day 10, which was 20,308 or whatever it was.
Nailed it, yeah.
And then
so day 10, the end of day 10, you're walking back to 17 p.m.
Ooh.
Which is so this is, and I mean, it's smart. They're doing it because you have from 17 to 14 is tricky. Doing that in a day could really put you in a jam. And so walking from 20 to 17 is also really tricky. I mean, you got to go over the Autobahn. You have some fixed rope stuff. It's kind of technical. And so you get down to camp, you are wasted. And mind you, I only had basically 2 liters of water.
Oh yeah, you were on the low end of all of that. Oh yeah. Man.
So I'm like super dehydrated. I get back and I have the dehydration headaches and stuff like that, and then get to my tent and I am like out immediately, like just knocked out. They're trying to get me to eat and I'm like not doing it. Finally, because the sun never sets, so I don't know what time it is, but I end up eating.
Do you remember that at all, or is that like just a big blur?
No, just the conversations of why I should eat. I remember that.
Okay, yeah.
He's like, you gotta eat because, the hard part's coming. Like, dude, we're not carrying you down. Get your shit together and get down this mountain.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's not just about you. It's about like Hey, bro.
Yeah. Carry your weight, man. So, so I take care of myself, make sure I'm good to go, and then we start from 17 the next day. I can't remember what time. It's got to be around like 12. We sleep in, get up at like somewhere around 12, head down, which took forever and a day to get from 20 to 17. Just an awful experience because it was so jammed. That's when the other teams, because they missed the first summit day, the day that we got up, they rested, and so they're trying to get up as well. So we're like passing people on this ridge, and you have to stop each time someone's going up. You always have to stop for them. And so it takes forever to get to 17, same day. And the guides, which they don't tell you this before, but the guides are like, okay, 8 p.m., we're going to wake you up, and we're going to start walking, and we won't stop. We won't actually stop until 5 a.m. There'll be a 10-minute break, every so often. You are going downhill, but you're still dragging. So we had 23 days of equipment, and we did it in, at that point, 10 days. So we have to dig all this stuff back up and carry the food that we didn't use.
Yeah.
And you have to carry your poop, man. You can't
right, everything, trash. Yeah.
So you're pooping in these containers, and it's going down with you, and it's just what the heck, man? This is heavier than when we went up.
Right.
And going down the sleds, they call it walking the dog, but it just runs past you. The sled will just run past you, and then if you don't correct it, it starts the gator roll. So it's just a mess. And oof. Yeah, man, we get down to 14, and it's game on. You're just walking. And so every so often they would stop. My esophagus was burned
from the cold weather? Or?
No, ibuprofen, liquid gels. Never again. Never taken the liquid gels. So every time I drank something, I didn't eat. The last day I didn't eat at all because it just hurt so bad. So every time I had a drink, I would feel it.
Oh, man.
Just a misery. You're just every step gets me closer, but...
Yeah. And
I don't know how many steps I have.
Temperature-wise on this trip, what's the temperature averages throughout, the 11 days?
I think it got down to... Those are questions we don't normally ask because I don't want to
Yeah,
know.
right.
I can do better without those details, but I feel like it was... Every now and then we feel a negative 10 or something like that. My hands were nipped, so you lose the feeling in your hands for, 3 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
Not frostbitten, but for sure nipped.
Yeah. So just the tips, or is it your whole hand?
Yeah, just the tips.
Okay.
Just the tips. I didn't have on heavy gloves, and we had to stop a few times for over an hour to fix someone else's gear, and I didn't adjust, and next thing you know, my hands are gone. So
yeah,
it would get pretty cold, especially when we stopped, and then on the way out, you're just going.
Here's another question I have. What's the process like? Do you change clothes at all?
No.
Yeah, I didn't figure.
You're just wearing the same pants.
Yeah.
Every day, and I brought 3 pair of underwear and a few pair of socks, and so you start flipping your underwear inside out and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, is that even changing in your tents? I'm sure there's a temperature change, but that's got to be just a process and an experience in and of itself, right?
Yeah, I smelled awful. And,
well, of course.
And the sweat that you just have caking on your body while you're moving, and then you stop and it gets super cold, and same pair of pants, 1 pair of pants the whole time. I had 2 hoodies that I was wearing, just alternating.
Sure.
And then underwear and socks. You're just going.
What kind of socks do you take on a trip like that?
The brand that I use is Darn Tough.
Yeah, I like those.
Yeah, really good. And inserts are just regular REI inserts.
Okay. Yeah, I love those Darn Tough socks. They're so good.
Yeah.
And then they've got like a warranty, I think, right? Like if they get a hole or if they rip or anything, you just send them in and they send you another one. Like send you a new pair. So lifetime.
At Aconcagua, I had cheap socks, and it cost me the back of my heels.
Oof.
Like day 4, my heels are like wide open.
Yeah. Do you use like a slip in the inside? I know some people put like a slip sock, right?
I had 6,000 meter boots for that, for Aconcagua, and then they were Scribus, and my feet do not do well with Scribus, but for Denali I had 8,000 meter boots. They were La Sportivas. Okay.
Cool. So we are at, I think, did we get to 14,000 feet? Is that what you said? And then it's just a smooth sailing from there, just a walk down?
Not smooth sailing, but yeah, you're essentially descending for a full day.
Okay.
Yeah, it was quite the workout. Yeah. Wow. You just walk out one day, death march.
And then you get to the bottom. I'm assuming you just kind of walk into camp, and are there people there? Were the people that didn't make it up, were they still in camp?
Yeah, so the guys that we left, some of the groups just stayed, and they were still there when we descended to their camps, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you guys are going to be here for a while. Enjoy it, but, man. But, yeah, once you get back to the Talkeetna Glacier, where you started, we stopped at about 5 a.m., and the guides, they just hold information to keep you from like panicking, but they're like, well, it's 5, the planes don't start flying until 8 a.m. so pull out your sleeping bag and your pad and take a nap on the ice. They had beer for us though, which was we bought nice. Beer and buried it. So that was a plus.
Does it, I mean, I'm assuming things get pretty cold, so is it, when it buries, does it not freeze completely, or how does that work?
It wasn't frozen.
It wasn't frozen.
Yeah, it's a good call. I didn't even think about that.
And even like your food, that's all dehydrated probably, right? And then you just boil.
Yeah, some of it. I mean, for the most part, they're actually, like, they have a cook tent, and our group. Okay. Because you can't eat dehydrated food for that long. You can't go 3 weeks doing that. You will never use the restroom again. But they're carrying like fresh food. Like
okay, nice.
We had like a fajita night, a pizza night.
Wow.
And It's all augmented for the camp, and that's why our sleds are so heavy. But like we had a steak night, just 4 pounds of steak, like just get through it. Yeah. So, it's pretty good. Like they provide a ton.
Yeah. So you get down. Obviously, what's the first thing on your mind? Just as soon as you get down, shower. I knew that was going to be the answer, but
back to the hotel, take a shower. So you fly a little puddle jumper, a little prop plane out. You get to see like the range. You get to see the mountain that you just summited. It's pretty amazing to see it after you've been at the top. Yeah. And then they take you back to like a little hotel in the town, and you're there until your shuttle leaves back to Anchorage. So.
And how was like getting back down to that elevation? Did your body adjust pretty quickly then, or do you have any side?
Easier.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything's easier once you if you've gone higher than 14 and spent any time up there, and worked out or anything, like your body, it's easier to run a mile. You'll do it quicker than normal. Yeah. So, coming down, you just chest out.
Yeah, feeling great on top of the world.
Yeah, I'm the best thing around here. So, yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I still my esophagus was still kind of screwed up, but
really,
at that point, it's like I'm drinking as much beer as possible.
Heck yeah. That's like party time. Like it's ready to celebrate your victory of making it up. And did you get to reconvene with your friend Was it?
No, he had already had
Jason?
Yeah, okay. He was a week ahead, so Josh had already left.
Josh, yeah. Okay.
Got back to Birmingham, Alabama. That's where he's from.
Nice. So, I mean, I know you've taken some time to kind of process, like, looking back at that trip. What did it teach you? What do you feel like you gained or learned from that experience?
Man, it's a confidence booster. Like,
yeah,
like after getting through each of my like tough points, I'll keep moving. I don't quit. I have drive. Once I have a goal established, I'll do whatever it takes to get there. And so that just kind of, I don't know, reinforces that for me.
Sure.
And just like the Denali, out of the 7 summits, out of most mountains, Denali commands a good bit of respect. It's, not on the level of Everest, but it sort of is. Like, people don't make it up that mountain. And great climbers have died on that mountain.
Right.
So, yeah, it's kind of, you can, it's not that I'm bragging about it or anything, but
no, I think that's a huge mountains. Accomplishment. It really is. And this is
passively or just quietly throw out Denali, and I'm like, yeah, I summited that mountain. And
yeah, that's awesome.
Kind of commands a little respect.
What would you say the hierarchy? Everest, obviously, number 1.
Everest, Denali, for
Denali,
sure.
2.
And then, easily 2. It work-wise is harder than Everest. There's nobody helping. So most people who climb would say that the work involved with Denali
is the hardest
than Everest.
Yeah.
But just sheer elevation, because Everest is still 9,000 feet higher.
Yeah.
Than Denali.
Crazy.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy. So what's next for you? What's the plan from you've done the first 3 here? You've got 4 more to reach your ultimate goal.
Yeah. I want to climb a specific route on Rainier. So I got to figure that one out. And Erbrus. Erbrus would be the next out of the 7 summits.
And where's that at?
That is, I guess, in between Europe and Russia.
Okay.
The Caucasus Mountains.
Okay.
It's like 18,000 feet up, and it's got a big glacier, and it's a bit technical. But, that's the next one.
Do you have a time frame, or are you still kind of planning and feeling that out?
Next year. There's some other business ventures that I'm like just funding.
Yeah.
And these climbs are pretty expensive, so.
Yeah.
I'd love to do Erbrus next year, and that's the goal that I'm going to set. See
Sweet.
If I can hit it. My friend Josh is actually climbing Everest in March of next year, that's a bit beyond my my pay grade. So.
Yeah. And how do you how does your body, or I'm assuming that the faster turnarounds could be, there's probably a peak turnaround of coming back down and then going back up on a mountain like that, that you'd still have some residual benefits from climbing a Denali and going in March?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean, climbing 2 mountains in 1 year above 20,000 feet for sure helped my case. But I probably won't have any residual. I mean, the training, yes, but but actual residual from Denali to Erbrus probably won't.
But Josh potentially could for Everest.
He's right in the realm, I think, by climbing in March. So.
And Thomas, if you feel comfortable, how does this? I know you're a Christian man, and I know your faith is very important to you. How does this affect your faith, like as these different climbs and, the trust and relying on God as you're climbing these mountains? Do you think about that a lot? Is that something you really lean on? What's that experience for you with your faith, with your own faith?
Yeah, man. like the actual act of climbing, it's constant chatter.
Yeah.
For me, back and forth with God, just like, I mean, yeah, dude, it's just really hard physically. And
yeah.
So constant chatter, like working through each stage,
Mm-hmm.
And trying to keep the right mindset. But once I get to camp, you know, it's there was just a ton of prayer for weather, because it's so hard to like climb through bad weather. And so, yeah, just the climbs bring me closest to God. Like you see, in my opinion, you see God's artwork throughout the mountain.
Yeah.
Like just the artist that he is. But also, like, for me climbing, like the physical aspect, I just don't think, like, I think the way I'm wired, man, just being able to talk to him and what I believe is like having him respond.
Yeah.
And being able to see it is just like confirmation. It just helps
Sure.
throughout the climb, keeps me mentally like where I need to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. And then I guess I want to touch back on, your aspirations of being the second black man to summit the seven, what are they, the seven?
Summits, yeah.
The 7 summits.
Yeah.
I think that you're such a humble guy that I know it's a big thing for you. But like speak to what that means. I mean, just in a sense of like to the black community as being a member, being a person of being black and being able to accomplish that. What would that mean to you, and what do you feel like that kind of says for the black community, or says to the black community, maybe?
Man, well, yeah, I don't know that I'm the spokesman, but I think for me,
you have a voice though, and I'm not saying you're a spokesman, but I think that your voice is important to hear, and I guess that's what I want to hear. I want to hear your voice, and I think it's important for you to speak to that element. I don't want to brush that off. I think that's really huge and really important, and I want to be able to cheer you on throughout all of that, with the climb itself and accomplishing that feat. I think it's nothing short. It's nothing short of awesome and incredible, and I want to like highlight that.
I think from the personal and slightly selfish, call it what it is, side of it for me.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
Like the goal is there, the opportunity's there, the mountain's there. Why not climb it?
Yeah.
I'm not bad at it. I'm pretty good at high elevation. I want that goal.
Yeah.
That's like purely personal and for sure a bit selfish. Like doesn't necessarily help anyone in that, like just that thought of it doesn't. But also the on the outside of that, like it's kind of I guess it's a pioneer. The pioneer in me like wants to, like black people don't climb.
Yeah.
Why is that? Well, I mean, an introduction to it, like
sure.
I didn't know where Kilimanjaro was. I thought it was in Kenya.
Yeah.
No one, like, I've just never had anyone tell me about those things. I've never been skiing. I don't know what alpinism is, or I didn't at that point know what alpinism is, or what it means to summit a mountain.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, that's a good discipline and a good challenge that, like,
and it's giving an example, and it's providing an example. It's giving a path of saying, like, look what I did, and you can like, too. And
get out, being outside, being like challenging yourself.
Yeah.
To, commit to something and get up this mountain, and enjoying the process, enjoying the pain, enjoying, the scenery, like being able to get in. It's like good for humans. It's good for me. I know I'm not the only one. So
yeah, absolutely.
That part of it is like, that's the part to come. I want to be able to share I'm doing it with you, but I want to be able to share my like experiences with people who don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a thing. People pay a ton of money to do it.
Yeah.
But also you can get out and do it for less,
Yeah. That's awesome.
So Yeah, it whets my appetite for pioneering, but also I'm really looking forward to the sharing part.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you tell if there's listeners out there that have thought about, starting a climb or doing a climb like this, or maybe they're planning for it, or maybe they never thought about it, but now they're intrigued? What would you tell them? What would you say?
If they've never climbed before?
I guess if it's something they're interested in doing. I mean, if this is something they want to do.
Seek advice, seek mentorship.
Yeah.
Like if there's a specific goal, specific mountain that you want to climb, or specific, like whether it's rock climbing, gym climbing, alpinism, like whatever it may be, like get out there and ask others, like for advice and for help, and then just do it. Like get after it. Like reach out to me, reach out to someone who has a little experience, and build off of that and do it. Like have the mindset to actually put some action to it. Like
Absolutely.
Get out there, get after it, do it until you don't feel comfortable, and then do some more research or try and bring someone else along and keep it going.
Any resources you would suggest for people?
There's a ton of movies that kind of help. I mean, even like rock climbing movies. A couple books. Let's see. Yvon Chouinard has a couple books. The Patagonia founder. Movies, I'd say check out things like 180 Degrees South. It's
I love that one. That's like one of my favorites. That's like just I could just put that on a Saturday and just watch it, and it's inspiring. It touches on so many different things. It's really cool. That's a really good one.
An American Ascent.
I gotta watch that one. You were just talking about that
Amazon,
a couple times, and I haven't seen that one yet, so I'll write that down.
Yeah, and just, like in that genre, there's just like, for me, it took watching movies of people doing these things and kind of learning more about the world, learning the names to pay attention to, and just kind of move. Oh, Nehru. Gosh, I forgot about that. Jimmy Chin and Conrad Anker. Oh my gosh.
Nehru.
Like, yeah, Meru. That's a really good one. And then Jimmy Chin's other movie, Free Solo.
Oh, Free Solo. Another good one. Yeah.
Yeah, these are not necessarily about alpinism.
No, but they're intros to definitely that adventure. Yeah, and being.
You learn the important names really quick. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, those
cool.
Those are the ones.
Anything else you want to say before we close things up?
Yeah, I feel like I got everything off my chest.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking this time. I know I've said it a couple times, but I'm always really appreciative. I feel like it's a blessing for me to have just guests in general. When people are willing to come on, I really appreciate it. And I know you're a busy man, and I know you've got a lot on your plate, and I just really appreciate you taking the time and doing this with me. So thank you so much.
Man, it's my pleasure. Thanks for pulling that story out of me. And,
absolutely.
I look forward to hiking on again.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Thomas, right, I would love to pin you down before I go. The next time you're going, whenever you decide to go on your next climb, will you come on before and kind of talk a little bit about it?
I can make that happen.
Perfect. Or I can at least settle for the post. After the climb.
Happen, man.
All right. Sounds good. Thomas, thank you so much. I appreciate it. For all of you out there, thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate you listening. Check us out, CrazeyFaceUno.com, as well as the podcast is available, as you know, on a lot of the different platforms. So check it out. Thank you so much. Love you all. Peace.